everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Live. Thank you for joining me again. It is a beautiful day here in Oregon and so fun to get together and create something really fun. And I do have a really fun project for you again. In fact, last time that I was on, we did a Slimline card, vertical, and this time we're going to do one horizontal. It was so much fun, and I just think once you start adding pieces to your watercolors, it's just so fun and it's hard to stop. So that's kind of where I was on this one. Just like last time when I did the the poll with the birdhouses, it's kind of hard to stop. I think I ended up stopping with 7, but some of your projects I saw you guys went on and did, way more than that. So I love to see that. I'm getting my comments set up here so that I can see who's on. So please send me a message. Here we go. Hello to all of you. Okay, I see Debbie Hedges is on. Hi, Debbie. I'm sure Claire is on, so she can answer questions if you have any. Barbara Meyer, good morning. Good morning, Queenie. Hi, Ruth Ann. So fun to see all these familiar names. You guys, I feel like I know you. I feel like we're friends. I mean, we are. Dawn, hello from New York. Wow. Hi, Dawn. Dodie Halter is watching. Velda. Paula De Leon, hello. Kathy, hello. Andrea, good morning. Hang on here. It looks like my comments are just a little stalled here. Oh, here we go. Georgia, hello from Ohio. Hello, Lee, watching from Georgia. Wow, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is it's so much fun doing these lives. And I am here to answer questions too. So I try not to get too absorbed in my project so that I don't pay attention to your comments and your questions. So be sure to, ask a question. I'll try to look up. I'll try to hold things up too so that you can see it clearly. Let me show you what we're going to make since it's 10 o'clock right now. So here is the Slimline card that we're going to make. I'll kind of look over the top. You can see it's a horizontal one, and I have pretty much pulled out all the flowers and foliages that I have. And so these cards are really fun to do because literally you just get all the flowers and foliages that you have, you lay them out in front of you, and you just pick them up and use them. So this is what I did on this one was I kind of pulled out my rustic containers. I thought that would be really fun to group them together. And I picked out my Easter colors. So my pastels, brights, yellows, pinks. And I think this will be a really fun one to do. We're going to definitely use a positioner. So that's what classifies it as an intermediate. It's because we're using our positioner more than one time. So we will be doing that. But for the most part, it's a very simple project. It's basically making a pot and multiplying it 5 times. So that's really what we're doing. Well, 7 times in this case. Before we get started on that project, I want to just show you quickly our newest release again. So those of you who subscribe to our newsletter, you probably saw this. So if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, be sure and do that. This is new. Now this is our shadow box die. And what this is, it is for using with our windows to the world. Now, those of you who watercolor, these are great to watercolor. I love doing that. Everything that I color is watercolored, and these are great to do. They're small, they have the sentiment on them, and now you can use this shadow box die with your windows to the world. Now, there are also 4 new ones, so let me show you those. This one is the boat window set. Now, the difference between these, you can see they look exactly the same. It's just that they have another piece. There's an additional piece and a die that is inside. And the reason that is inside there is, I will show you in a second, to make these look 3-dimensional. So that is the boathouse one. Let me show you that again. It's the boat window set. So the boat is the extra little piece that goes into the front. This one is the bridge. And you can see that little bridge that goes right into the front, kind of pops up. So they're made just like all the other windows to the world. They're sized the same. They have the sentiment, so of course you can use them the same way that you have always used them. But this is one of our most popular lines. People love these because they're simple to color and they have a really nice message on them. So this one is called the deer window set, of course, and it's got a little extra piece that's the deer. So here you go, it's inside, and the little die cuts it out. So it looks just like this. And then here's the last one. This is the mailbox. So it's got a little cottage back in the background with a little mailbox. So let me show you now kind of how these work. So here's the deer, and I'll just turn it a little bit so that you can see what I mean by shadow box. See how that deer kind of pops up? The shadow box is in the inside, and that's what the die does. It creates this little shadow box, and then when you shut your card, it folds flat. So just like this. And then the piece on the front, the decorative piece on the front, is also part of the die set. Now there is a tutorial on YouTube that I myself have made to explain how to use these stamps, how to put them together. It's about 10 minutes long. So if you want to buy these, you're not sure how they go together, they're super, super, super simple. And there is a tutorial on YouTube that tells you exactly how to do it. So here's another one. Is this one cute? This one's black. And I just love this little thing. The little hello, that also comes in the dies, with the dies. But see how that folds flat like that? And then it pops open so that it looks three-dimensional. And see that little deer? He just kind of pops out in the front and looks three-dimensional. So you can do these, you can use this die set with any of your windows to the world. So here's another one. This is the little bridge. Isn't that cute? You can see how that just works the same way. They all work the same way. There's the little hello in the front. Our design team members that created these, just so, so cute. Here's the little, the one with the, this is the mailbox. It's got the little cottage back here, little mailbox. Just so cute. And again, here's the mechanism inside that folds flat. Just, it's really a simple mechanism, but it is so cute and really fun, and of course simple. I mean, simple is got to be the name of the game. You got to be able to do these quickly. Here's that die set again. Here's what it looks like. So here's the little hello. Here's the die. Here's the shadow box part that cuts that out. This little die in the center will cut the sentiment off of your windows to the world. So when you go to put this together, you don't want that sentiment on there. You want that to fit into the window box mechanism, the template. And so that little die cuts that off for you. So it's just so slick, works great. So any of your windows to the world, of course, that look like these, you'll be able to put into that shadow box. So again, check out that tutorial on YouTube and see how these things work, because they're just so fun. Okay, you guys, it's 10:07, so let's get to it. Let's get to our project and make this Slimline card. It is so fun, so, so fun. Okay, I'm gonna turn my camera around. And this is always the scary part, so that I don't cut anyone off here. Flip this around. Okay, we're good so far. There we go. And let me just move this and get myself positioned here. Okay, I think I'll just drop this down a little bit to make sure that I have this in here. And I'm still checking my comments, so I'll go back and check too, you guys. So if you send me a message or a comment and I don't see it, I will go back and check on that. Okay, I think we are good to go. So can you see this project now? You can see that it is loaded. It is loaded with stuff, but you know what? It was so fun to do, and I used every section of this Slimline card. So a Slimline card, for those of you who don't know, is about 8.5 by 3.5, and I think I used every single centimeter of it because it was just so full. Now, how cute would this be with the Southwest theme? So cute. You could do this with a fall theme. You could do it with Christmas theme. I mean, remember that when I show you these compositions, that you can use them different ways too. You know, I'm just giving you the ideas. So what I did in this case, and let me just show you kind of how I set this up, because I don't know if this is helpful or not, but this is how I do it. And I think I've shown you before some steps that I take to put things together. Now in this case, I just went through and found all of my containers. And here they are. And I stamped them, and actually you can see my thumbprint because I really just took the rubber part like this, put it onto an ink pad and stamped it onto some scratch paper. So that's why my fingerprint is on there. But this was a really helpful tool because I could put these together and look at the composition and kind of see how they go together. I could see what would, now this to me, this would be too busy. So I could put it over here. And it kind of gives you an idea of how things would go together, how you could tip it, what you would need to mask to put this together. And I think it saved me a lot of steps. And this is kind of when I decided to go with the rustic containers. So here's what I ended up using. I ended up using these, and I kind of took the tall one, put that in the center, and then I tucked this little boot right in next to it. And you can see I also, if I don't need to mask, I try not to, because it's just it's an extra step that I really try not to have to do. So if I don't need to mask, I think that's a plus. So I tucked that little boot right into here, and then on the next side I've got a lot of flat space here, so I put the bucket. I think that just fits right there. Now I did tuck this one behind and brought this bucket forward. So I will need to mask this one. This is the only one that I'll need to mask. And then I used this will actually two. I need to mask two, this one too. So I tucked this behind the boot just like that. And then this one, I wanted something a little smaller and a little more rustic. So I just took the top completely off. And keep that in mind when you're making these. You have so many options with these stamps because you're using markers. For example, if you wanted a crate that is only this tall, leave this top part off or leave the bottom part off. And just do one this size. For example, the basket, maybe you just want a small one. You can leave this whole top section off. So there are a lot of ways that you can use these. And this one, I ended up just using this lower section right here. And I thought, oh, it might be kind of fun to tip one over like this and then put another one over here. So that's kind of what I did. And I played around with these a little bit, and I sort of got the composition that I wanted. And then I was able to just stamp it. So I kind of laid it out and then just kind of looked at it, and that's kind of how I went from there. So I don't know if that's helpful to you guys or not, but I'm going to hang on to all of these containers because, wow, there's a lot. And I think it was really helpful to be able to kind of place these where I want to place them. And then I kind of have something to go by. So hopefully that was helpful to you. You know, all these little tools, you know, it's really hard to get it right the first time. And I have been doing this for many, many years. I stamp these things all the time, and I still struggle with getting things right the first time. So it does take a little bit of thought, especially when you're doing these intermediate projects, to think about where you're going to place things. And then once you get that place, then it's just a matter of filling in all the fun part. So it is kind of, it is a little time consuming, or it does take less time to just do a little planning. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful to you guys. So let's get going and let's do exactly what I said I was going to do. So that is put the tall one in the center. Now I'm going to use my positioner for these because I think it's really helpful. And you want to kind of stamp down towards the bottom because I've got a lot of stuff in these pots, and especially this tall one. I don't want to start it too far up because then I'm limited as to space here. And, you know, a Slimline card is long and narrow. So I'm going to stamp it about a ½ inch from the bottom. And you can see here too how some of these things are forward. Some of them are turned a little bit, tipped. I think that adds a lot of interest. When you think about placing things like that, if you can just kind of avoid putting things in a straight line, I think you'll be happier with it. I think it adds a lot more interest. It's a little more fun, and it shows a little more movement when you do that. It almost looks like things were kind of haphazardly put there. And I just kind of, I like that better than something that's too rigid and in a straight line. It also creates a little dimension. So when you bring things forward, you see how this bucket is in front of these two? That creates dimension. And it doesn't look like everything is flat. Okay, so enough talk. Let's get this project done. You guys, this was so much fun to do. It really, really was. And picking out the colors was also really fun. I do that too. I pick out the color palette before I get started. And let me just show you. I mean, I literally have so many stamps, but it was just so much fun. Here's the colors that I'm using. You can see I usually don't use this many, but you know, it's Easter and spring, and I just got all my fun bright colors out, including my yellow. Yellow is also in this project. Okay, so let's get started with this one. We're going to start out with this little rustic pot. And because I'm using my positioner, I don't really need to stamp this off. Now, if I were going to just stamp this, ink this, and stamp it onto my watercolor paper, I would stamp it off first because I think it's just a little too dark. So I would, I'm going to ink it in two colors. So I'm going to do the brown first. This is the dark brown. So these are the two colors, you guys. 565, 969. And we're going to do the brown first. Now, in this case, I'm going to use that little bunny. And so I'm going to take a little bit of this off. Let me just show you. See in here, I tucked this little bunny in. So I'm going to take part of this line off to make sure that I have plenty of room for him to sit in the front. Okay, so we're going to leave part of this off. And again, this is part of being able to use stamps because you have that freedom to use the parts that you want. Okay, so now I've got this inked up, so I'm going to stamp it into the center or into the corner. And then I'm going to stamp it in the center of my Slimline card and about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So I think that's probably pretty good right there. And because I stamped it off on the acrylic, I'm okay to just stamp it onto my watercolor paper. So I just kind of huffed on it a little bit. You never want to stamp it too hard. You don't want to just push on that and push that into the paper. You're going to get, the lines are going to be too dark. So do that one first. Now we're going to tuck that little boot in right next to it. We're going to tuck this in and we're going to set it back just a tiny bit. And I'm going to use my little acrylic here, and I can turn it now and use this side. So again, two colors. And I'm just going to go through, and since we're doing this all as one composition, I'm just going to do them all kind of the same. So brown first and then blue. And this one we can color the whole thing. Just hang on to that. Stamp it into the corner, just like that. And then tuck it. And you know, it's okay to tip things a little bit. You know, you don't have to go crazy like this, but just to add a little bit of character and bring that forward. So I'm going to tuck this in right next to this can, just like that, and kind of bring that forward just a little bit. Huff on it. And just good even pressure. Just good even pressure. Don't just jam that down into the paper. So let's continue on here. And I'm going to cheat and get another one of these because I have several of these. These are really handy to have. And I'm going to use this little box now, the little wood box. I'm going to use the whole thing. So again, I'm going to do the blue first. Nope, the brown first. So let's just clean this off really quick here. This is usually how I clean my stamps. Although sometimes, you guys, I do use a baby wipe. I do that. Okay, so brown first. And then blue right over the top. And then let's stamp this into the corner. So that's how a positioner works, is that you're stamping it right into the corner. Whoops. Let's do that one more time. Not sure if I think I hooked that onto the edge of my positioner, and so I just want to make sure that I got this on there good. So I'm just going to ink that one more time. There we go. Make sure I get this in the right place. Now, if I were to stamp this, you can see I'm going to stamp that right over the top of the boot, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take a little bit of masking tape and just kind of cover this up. Just use a little piece here and in there. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now I've covered that and I can put this back a little bit. So now I'm going to tuck this behind the boot. So the boot looks like it's kind of coming out in front and the toe is out in front. So I think this looks pretty good right there. And just huff on it and then stamp that right in here. Again, not too dark. You don't want to get that on there too dark. Okay, so there's our second one. Now we can put this little guy in. And I'm just going to grab another one of those little acrylics. And I'm just going to use part of it. So we're not going to use this whole thing. So when I ink it, I'm just going to ink this bottom part, so this bottom line down here. And then go right back over it with the blue. And then use my positioner. And I think I can tuck that right down here into the front. Maybe I'll turn it just a little bit. And this one, it overlaps a tiny bit, but it's not going to really matter by the time we get everything in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the other side now. The bucket is next, and it should fit right next to this one. So let's turn this around. Ink this in two colors, so the brown and the blue. So the reason that we're inking this in two colors is because it gives us a really nice three-dimensional color. It's kind of a gray, but when you pull the color out of the lines, you actually get a mix of color. And that's what makes things look a little more realistic. If we were to just take a gray marker, these things would be too one-dimensional. We wouldn't get the same effect. Okay, so now we're going to tuck this bucket right into here, and I'm going to turn it a little bit because I'm going to just really tuck it in close. And I just brought it forward just a little bit. Okay. And now this one. So we are going to have to mask this little bucket off, but we can do that really easily. Just using that Post-it tape, just like that. It's okay if this goes over the front. That's not a big deal. So let's use the positioner again. I don't know what I would do without my positioner, you guys. I use this thing all the time, all the time. If you don't have one, I would just strongly suggest that you get one. Because it's really, really hard to guess where things are going to go. And these stamps are rubber, especially, the flowers and the foliage, because they have to be stamped in a repeat. So they will always be rubber. Okay, so now this is going to go over, and we're going to set this back just a little bit. And I think that's probably good right there. Huff on that. There we go. And now we can take this off. And we are getting to the end of our little row of pots. So I'm going to go back and do this one again and just kind of lay this down. So I am going to use my my masking tape again. And just cover this and then tuck this behind. And I want to kind of tip this down. So the edge of the pot and this edge of the pot here, these two should be straight. So in other words, we don't want it up like this. We want it kind of to tip down like this. So it kind of looks like it's coming forward. And actually, we want to do it this way. And place this back on here. I hope I'm not off the screen. Let me just move it back a little bit. And then I'm going to re-ink this one. So brown first. And remember, we're just inking just the bottom section. And then blue. Now, in this case, I'm going to stamp it off because I didn't stamp it onto the acrylic plate. So I'm going to use a piece of scrap watercolor paper and stamp this off. Okay, now we can take our mask off, and there we go. We've got our little line of pots all ready to go. And now we can place the little bunny in here. So let's do that. Let's get him placed. And you can use, you can use the positioner either way, this way or vertical like this. It doesn't matter. I use all four corners, depending on how big my stamp is. So in this case, I'm just going to use the dark brown. This is the 969. Stamp him in the corner like that, and he will tuck right in here. Puff on him a little bit. And again, don't stamp it too dark. Okay, now we've got all of our basic images in. Now the fun part, you guys. So fun. So let me move all these stamps out of the way here. And get out all my flowers and foliages. I have so many. You know what? I did not go through and tell you guys what I use. So let me do that really quickly before I go on to the next step. Here is what I'm using. So this is the rustic container set. I'm using all three of these in this set. And I think Kendra used this one in her Back to Basics last night. And I saw that project. It was so, so cute. So I hope those of you who haven't seen it can get on and watch it. It's archived on Facebook, so you'll be able to see that on there. But it's so, so cute. So I've used these three now. In this set, this container set, I've used this one and the bucket. So these two. Now, keep in mind, you can use any containers. Look at the stack I had. Any of those are going to work. So, look at what you have and kind of go from there. Now in this one, this is the ornate container set. Here's the one I used here. But wouldn't this be cute with these ornate containers? You could use all of these in a row, and especially you could change them up. So you could take the tops off, you could take the pedestal off, you could do lots and lots of different things with this set. Here's the little bunny set. This is the one that I used right here, but how cute would any of these be? All of them would work great. Okay, so now here's what I used, and literally I just took out my flowers and foliage and I just picked things up. So here's what I'm using, but you can obviously use what you have. So I will go through here and just show you the things that I've used, but feel free to look at what you have first. The vine, of course, we're going to use that one in the basic set. The filler flower here. In the set 2, I use this long stem, but and actually I use this one too. So these two, but any of these are going to work. I use this one. In the branches set, I use this little guy. I use this one in the flower cart. In the wagon set, I use these two. Oh, and I use this one. In the foliage set 4, these two guys and this one. So these three, and actually the little grasses too. So, I just loaded these pots up. These two in here. So this is flower set 4. And then in the mini flower set, I used, what did I use in here? I don't think I used anything in here. Never mind on this one. Did not use that. But there are a ton of sets of flowers and foliage. So by all means, you know, there's no right and wrong way to do it. And especially when you're doing something like this, because these projects you can use anything to fill them in. And all of these stamps are interchangeable. So that's also the great thing. Remember, you're doing this as a collection. Okay, so let's get going on this. We're going to start out by pulling the color out of the lines. And I've got my water right here. So I'm going to dip my brush and pinch it off and just kind of make my way down. Now, this is just the beginning stage, so you can just whip through this pretty quickly. We're going to go back and add color to all of these containers. So we're just kind of getting in the basics right here. So remember, anything that's round is going to have a highlight in the center. That's so important. And remember also, when you are pulling color out of the line, you're going below the line. You're going below the line. You're not tracing the line. Never ever do that. Never trace the line. You're going below it and you're dragging that color out. In this case, up above. And you can see how that kind of pops that out, makes it more three-dimensional. Here, you know, along the ridge of this boot, see how that just kind of pops that out. Same thing over here and under here. So you're going underneath these lines. It's really important the way that you pull the color out. And stay in each section. Now see the dome on this boot? We're going to have a highlight at the top, and we're going to have a highlight here on the inside. So always keep that in mind, you know, when you're doing these. And see how they're starting to look three-dimensional already. Same here. You're going to go above and you're going to go under, and that's going to bring that out and give this dimension. It's going to create the ridges that are in this container. This is an old rustic container, and that's why it has a lot of lines in it, because it's got a lot of color. And you can see that mix of color now. See how that brown, sometimes you get brown, sometimes you get blue. It really, really creates the impression that it's a thing. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a thing, not a stamped image. We want this to actually look like a row of pots. That's what we're going for. So here too, we're pulling the color out of the lines towards the center, staying in each section. Staying in each section, and this is just the beginning stages. In this case, under here, you're going to just drag your brush under the lines, and you can see how this just pops up. Bring your brush underneath this whole area, and you can see how that pops those rims up. And then, of course, we have a highlight in the center, so the sides are going to be darker. And we kind of have this back behind this bucket, so we've also got a shadow going on here. Now see, you know, when you're going next to the lines, you're creating dimension. If you follow the line, you just have a big, thick line. The whole point of the line is that you have color that's coming out. And then in this case, same idea. Now here, we've got more of the highlight at the top. This is a dome, so the highlight is going to be up here. So this down under here is actually going to be darker. And we're going to save that light color for the top of this. Okay, so see all the different color combinations we've got here? You know, we inked them the same, but we've got a lot of different color coming out because of using that mix of color. And now let's go ahead and go on to this little bunny here. We're just going to pull this out. Now, when you're pulling the color out, let me tell you a little trick with these little characters. If you, especially with ones that are a little bit bigger like this, if you bring this cheek around, you're going to give the impression that it's kind of sticking out. You see what I mean? Because you want to keep the face light. So this area is light. So you've got to have the color somewhere. And if you keep it rounded, you're kind of creating that dimension. It's almost like you're fooling your eye into thinking that this is coming forward. And we'll add a little more color to that later too. His little tail is white, so we're not going to add a lot of color to that. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in the eye. So I'm using a fine tip. This is my dark brown. And you can see how that just pops him out so much when we do that. It just kind of gives him life. So can you guys see that? See how different this looks already? It's just amazing. It's just amazing how just stamping it and you know, pulling the color out of the lines, just this first step creates this three-dimensional image. Okay, so let's go on to the next step, and we're going to add some color now. So maybe I should put my palette, maybe I'll put it up here. No, that's not going to work. Let's just keep it to the side. I just want to make sure I'm not off the screen with this big project here. I think I'm good here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some color, and I'm just going to put some color onto my palette. This is a cool green. So this is the 249. And let's just add some warm green too. Okay, now Kendra does this, and I always forget to do this. This is a 177, and I think this probably really helps you guys. She always thinks to do it. This is a 249, so I will try to be better at this. 249, and then we're going to add some blue, and this is 526, and some purple, 676. $676, that looks good. And then maybe some warm brown, 947. And what else do we need? Oh, the blue. 565, we're just going to add this blue. 565 on there. And let's see, do I have room for any other colors? Blue. That. How about the dark purple? This is 636. Okay, I think we got most of our colors on there. Let's add a little of 969. 969 on that one. Okay, so let's start out with some color. Always start out light. You know, you can always go back and add a little bit more. And, you know, when you place these colors next to each other, like, don't be afraid to kind of mix things. You know, you'll get some really, really cool colors by mixing things together. So don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes I don't want to clean off my palette because I've mixed just such cool colors. So now this is, you know, when you add green, you know, you're just going to get a different teal. And I think that also creates a lot of interest because you're not using the same colors all the time that, you know, Tombow has. These are Tombows. And sometimes I get tired of the same colors. And when you mix, this is your opportunity to break out of that kind of. And you can see that I'm applying the color the same way that I pulled the color out of the lines, from the darkest to the lightest. And I'm leaving that highlight. If you don't have a highlight on here, and you guys, I know I say this probably every single project, but if you don't have a highlight, you have your product is flat. Your pot is flat, and there's no way to fix it. So you've got to make sure that the sides are darker than the center. And if you do that, you're going to have a three-dimensional image. it just will work. Now see, I've got a little more blue this time. I like that mix of colors. I think it makes things look a little more three-dimensional and real. And then we can, we can put something decorative. I just love adding detail and lines. I just think little pots with lines are just so cute. And you can see how that just kind of changed everything. Just super, super easy. Now I'm going to, on this one, you can see this is like a little extra piece here, kind of a separate piece to this pot that it's sitting in. And so I'm going to really darken that edge in here. And this is a twin tone, so this is my fine tip twin tone. This is the dark brown. I mean, it's so handy. It's part of my toolkit that I just never go without. I have the 2 twin tones. I mean, this is my simple tools, a pencil and a ruler. And these are the things, a positioner, probably. These are the things I use all the time. And now my other new favorite thing is my watercolor eraser. If you guys don't have one of these, these are from Tombow. This thing is so great. It actually does erase. So if you do make a mistake or you stamp over something and you want to take it off, this little guy works great. So, okay, so let's go on to this one. Now this one we don't have to add a lot to. I'm just going to take some of this color, the 969. Let me just put this over just a little bit. Take some of this color and just add a little bit to this. It's kind of old and faded, I think, so we don't really have to do a lot to it. And we've got a lot of color coming out of the lines. One thing that we can do is really darken this back in here. So we can kind of put a shadow back here like that. And then I'm going to just add a little, whoops, wrong end. I'm just going to add a little dark area to the side here too. Anytime that you can put a little detail in like that, in here where it almost looks like this is broken, there's a piece missing, you can add a little detail like that in there too. It's going to add a little more character to your project. Okay, so let's go on to the boot. And let's do some of this warm brown, the 947, and we're going to add some color here. Now you're going to stay in each section. So you don't want to ever drag your brush across the whole boot. You want to do each section at a time. And I'm going to really darken this area inside here where the heel is. And again, I'm using the same, I'm going through to each section, one section at a time. And applying the color the same way. So from where it's the darkest to where it's the lightest. And we're going to have this highlight right here in the center. And this is going to be a little dark. And we can kind of mix this color too. And then let's add something kind of fun and bright in here. So I think in my original, I made this purple. I mean, who wouldn't want a pair of purple cowboy boots? I think that would be so cute. So the first layer, first pass is always going to be light. And then the second pass will be darker. And see the top of the boot here? This is a dome. So it's going to have a highlight on the top, and then down on the bottom, this is going to be darker underneath here. And let's just put a little bit back here. And that's really all we have to do. I'm going to come in now with my fine tip again and then really darken this under here. And we can come back in, towards the end and just kind of look at everything and see if we need to do any more of this. Okay, so let's go on to this little watering can here. And I'm going to take some of this blue now. maybe a little of this green too. I really like this green color. And just add some color. Again, we're starting where it's the darkest in each section. So when you add color, you know, to the side, you're going to stay in each little section and add that color. It's going to be light at first. And then as you go, it'll get darker and darker. And I'm kind of mixing in a little of this green too. This is the fun part. You know, when you get to this stage, you've got all your basic images in and you're just adding color like this. It is just so fun. And if you pick your color palette out before you start, I think it takes a little of the stress away too, because sometimes deciding what color to make things is a little hard to do, especially when you're in the middle of the project and you've added a color and now you don't know what color to use next. So if you kind of think about it beforehand, pick out your colors and then just go with those. See, again, I'm doing darker on the outsides and I'm leaving that highlight in the center. You know, under this ridge, you know, this is going to be darker under here. And my brush, for the most part, is pretty dry. Every time I dip my brush, I pinch it off. Always pinch it off. If you think you've got too much color coming on here and you're losing your highlight, pinch your brush off and just kind of brush it out. Okay, so now I'm going to take my brown, my dark brown, and you can see in here where these little handles are, we can add some dark color under here. Let's see how that just really just kind of pops everything out. So let me hold this up as far as what I've done so far. It's just really fun. Such a fun thing to do. Okay, so let's go on to the bucket, and the bucket is going to be mostly gray, so blue. We can just use this blue. We've got a lot of gray in it already. So I'm going to take some of this 565 and just kind of, again, we're going to do the same thing. Start from where it's the darkest and go to where it's the lightest. It's such a simple thing, but if you get that and you just automatically do it, you don't have to think about where's the light coming from and, you know, it's just something that we do. We just always leave a highlight. And if you think about just always leaving it in the center, it makes it kind of automatic. So you're applying the color, you're putting it on to where it's the darkest, and then you're dragging it over to the center. And just keep going, just make another pass. You can make this as dark as you want. As long as the sides are darker than the center. And we can add a little of this brown too, make it a little more rustic. You guys will feel like such artists when you start picking color up off your palette like this. Just do it. Just try it. Okay, so now we're going to, in this case, I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to kind of, you know, open this up here. This inside here, this would be dark inside this handle. So let's make it dark. You can see how that kind of changes things. like that. And then we're going to add a little shadow underneath that handle. And this little step really makes a difference. See how that just popped that little handle up? Let me hold that up so you guys can see. See how that popped that handle up? Just popped it right up. Little things like this makes such a difference. And we can come underneath here also and just put a shadow underneath here. And we're going to put a lot of stuff in this bucket, so we don't have to put too much color in here, but you can see how that really changed that bucket. Okay, so let's go on to this little guy, this little basket, and let's add some color to this one. And I think maybe let's just do some green. Again, we're going to add that color where it's the darkest and move it over to the center. And we can use both greens. It's always light to start out. But then I think there's not that panicked feeling of, oh my word, I totally messed up. Because you're doing it so gradual and you have time to think about, do you want more color? Do you want it darker? You just make another pass. And you can just take your time. Which is also the fun things about these lives. You guys, I go way longer on the lives than I ever did on the YouTube tutorials, because I don't know, I just think that I have all the time in the world when I'm on here with you guys. And when I'm on YouTube, I always think, well, people have to go, so I better do this, in 15 minutes. So I just feel like I've just got so much time to do it. But that's the fun part of it, and the relaxing part of it is that, you know how to stamp these things. You know how to do it. You know how to pull the color out of the lines. And it really gives you confidence to try things that are a little more complicated. And something like this, this is a very simple project. It can still be intimidating. But once you try one pot, there's no reason you can't do a row of pots like this. So I'm kind of picking up both greens, and I'm really darkening under these little bands. And I just added a little blue in here now. So let me hold that up so you guys can see. There we go. Okay, so let's go on now and do this final little one. And I think I'm going to pick up this purple. And now remember, the highlight is at the top. So we're going to pull this color from the bottom and kind of drag it up to the top. Okay, so, and underneath here, and just drag that color. So remember, it's underneath. So as you come to the top, you're going to see that highlight at the top. Okay, and then let's add something decorative again. So we can do that. There we go. So we've got our little pots and they're all ready to go. Let me hold these up. And now the fun part is to just fill them in. Just like that. Okay, anybody have any questions? What brush am I using? Okay, this is a Connoisseur number 4. And this will do the majority of your projects. I would definitely start out with this one. And then as you go and do more projects, I would pick up a 1, do a 1 next, just for little tiny things. And then from there, a 6. So we carry 3, a 4, 1 and a 6. Anybody else have any questions before we go on to the next part? Okay. Okay, you guys, here we go. So let's, well, let's finish up the little bunny here. So we're going to take a little more of this brown, and we're going to kind of put some more color onto his little cheek. And just kind of drag this over really lightly. And you can see how that kind of gives him a chubby cheek. See how putting that circle on there like that? It's kind of an illusion because we want to keep the face white. So regardless of what color the bunny is, this area where the eyes are and the nose, this needs to be really light. Keep that very light. And his little paws. And then we can add a little more color in here so we can make him a little darker. It's cute. And then I'm going to put a little pink onto my palette. Let me move this over here. This is 725. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this and put it into his little ears. And let's just put a little of this onto his cheek. And then I'm just going to color in this area just a little dark in here. A little more color in here. So remember, every time you go over it, it's going to get a little darker, and I'm still doing every section individually. Never cross the lines. That's a rule. Okay, so now we get to fill in everything. So let's do that. And really what I did was I literally took everything like this, all my flowers and foliages, and I kind of laid them out in front of me. And I just started grabbing stuff. So let's do it that way. And of course you can do it however you would like. But it was really fun. Now you can take a piece of Post-it tape and cover some of these little pots too if you don't want things hanging over the side. For example, let's just do this one here. Let me show you what I mean. And we're going to put in, let's pick up this one. We're going to do this in 2 colors. So let's do the stems. And then let's pick up some yellow and do the flowers, the blooms. And then we're just going to put this in, see, just like this. And now you can take this off. And you can see you've got that in there with nothing overhanging. And then we can just add our color. And then just dab. That bright yellow is so cute. And then I would take some of this green here and just kind of fill this in so that you can see that green in between. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. And actually, let's just start out with this little guy, the filler flowers. And I'm using, so I'm just grabbing colors. This is 676, so that's this one. And I'm just going to put in a few of these. And then let's put in some over here. And let's see, let's add some water to that. You know, every time you do these, they're going to be different. This one's going to be so different from the first one I did. But that's also the fun part. And that's why you can give this to people as an original work of art, because there's not going to be any 2 that are the same. They're all going to be different. So let's do this one. This one's really fun to do too. And I'm doing this one, this long grass, in 2 colors. So I'm going to do the tops, the tips, the purple. And just fill it in like that. While we're doing that, we might as well do this one over here. Two colors. And I'm gonna cover this little guy here too, just so that kind of looks like they're laying down. And then just add a little water. You don't even have to add very much, you know, to these. And especially these little blooms, just, you know, a few little dots here and there, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, so let's keep going here. Let's add some vines. So let's put something in over here. And let's put some in over here. And, you know, I also turn my page. I turn my page a lot too. That makes it really much easier to put things in. So I'm going to change out my greens. And this part that I'm doing here, this is so up to you. You can just add whatever you want to add in here. And do as little or as much. I mean, you can just load these up, or you can make them really simple. I think that's really cute too. Just maybe do a few things in here. Or the Southwest theme. I think the Southwest would be so fun. Especially with these rustic, you know, containers. I think that would be really fun to do. Okay, I'm going to do some more of this guy. And so I'm going to cover up this pot. And maybe I will do some blue here. So I'm going to use this 526. I love this little guy. It is so great. I mean, when you need to just put a few little blooms in, this thing works great. So it's pretty much, it's 1, 2, and then just tip it and get the top, not the stems. So 1, 2, and then tip it to get the top. And again, just kind of pull this color down and then just dab at these little blooms. Just so fun. These little bright colors. This little blue just reminds me of Easter so much. It's spring. And then let's do some of these little guys. Maybe some purple. Stems and blooms, you know, stems are green. And then the blooms. And you just ink them again. Super cute. This is when you can get all your little elements out. Foliages and flowers, and just load this up. So fun. And then I'm going to cover this little lip here and then put something in here. So how about, maybe let's do this long stem here. How about pink? Let's do some bright pink on this bloom. And actually, we could just do a few of these. Maybe just something simple like that. Be cute. And then, you know, when you're doing the long stems, remember, never add any water to the stem. So let me hold this up so that you can see what I've done so far. How fun. This is so fun, you guys. You can see why I kind of got carried away on it, because it was just so much fun. You can see you can just put in whatever you want to put in. So I'm going to add now some more of this little one, some blue. A little blue in there, and then maybe some blue in here. I mean, you just kind of fill in the holes. And this little guy that's kind of laying down, you know, we could just keep him kind of empty so that it looks like everything is just kind of falling down. And in that case, take your pencil and just close this off. Just close it off like that, and then just put a little shadow in here. And then it looks like this pot is, it looks like the flowers have just kind of all fallen to the bottom. Okay, so let's add a few more things in here, and we might be good to go with this. So let's just put a few of these in here. And how about some grasses? So these are those little accent grasses, and I really like these because they are they're really easy to stamp over things. When you've got a lot of this color going on down here, you don't really want to stamp over the top. But these little grasses, they're so small that you can do that. You can just add a little detail in here like this and just put a little grass in. And you can stamp it over the top of the container. And then just add a little water. You don't even have to do a lot. And let's just put in a few little shadows here. So I'm just taking this blue. This is the dark blue. Putting in a few little shadows. A little shadow under the boot, right under the toe. And then just a little bit over here. And if you want to, you can add a little color into the sky. Just a little bit of blue. You're just kind of pushing that color, you know, when you're doing the sky, you know, kind of resist the urge to make strokes. It's so easy to get into trouble doing that. Let me hold up what I've got so far. You guys can see this. There's not a ton else that, you know, other than just adding more flowers, you know, you can just keep going, adding way more things to this. Let's put something down. Let's put something down on the ground. That is also fun to do. And where's some place that we can do it here? So a little branch that's kind of fallen out of the basket adds a little bit more. And here's where you can kind of, you know, go through and really see if there's anything that you want to add, any area that you want to darken. You know, every time I think I'm done, I just, you know, kind of need to add one more brush stroke, you know, to something. It's really hard to know when to be done. I think that's probably a common struggle for people. When to just say, I'm finished. You know, and the nice thing is you can come back to these. So put it away for a while, come back to it and see if there's anything that you need to anything you want to add or change. So I'm just putting a little shadow in here, a little darker purple. Mixing a little color in there, and I think we are good to go. So I am going to sign and date this. If you would like to have it, I would be happy to give it away. So if you would like to have it, just comment in the section down below. We'll pick someone in the next day or so. So if you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, you still have a chance to get it. So just put it, just write in the comments that you would like to have it, and I will be happy to give it to you. Okay, there you go. Our little spring project is finished. Give it a try. Give this a try. You know what? Let's just do one more thing in here. See what I mean by just, you know, always thinking I just got to add one more thing. I'm just going to add some of these dots in because these are just so cute. Something about little dots to just finish things up. Okay, now you guys, I promise I'm really done. I'm really done. Okay, I'm gonna switch my camera around. Give you a chance to comment if you want to, and then anybody have any questions? If you have any questions about the process, about what I used, I'll stay on here for another minute or two and just see if there's anything that you guys need. Claire has also been on, so, you know, and like I said, I will come back. So if you are watching this later, this will, of course, be archived. It will also be on YouTube. So if you'd like, you can watch it on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you would, and like. We really appreciate that. Check us out on Instagram. Check me out on Instagram, Bonnie Krebs Bible Journaling. I have lots more watercolor on there. So if that is something that you are interested in, please check that out. This video, of course, will stay archived on here on Facebook, so you can go back and watch it. And I'd love to see what you've all done. Hard keeping up with you. You are fast. I am so sorry. And I try to really slow down. That's why we leave these archived on here, so that you can go back and look. And especially when it comes to putting those flowers in. I mean, it's just a little bit here and there. So take your time. You can go back and watch it. Push, you know, pause and take your time and watch it. So otherwise, I would be on here. I'm already way past an hour. So I would be on here for 2 hours, you guys. So anybody else have any questions, anything that you want to ask me about this process? When will the number 4 brushes be in? Good question. I think, you know what? I think we've got them in. So just email heather@artimpressions.com or call our 800 number and ask about that, because I just feel like somebody told me we got the brushes in. When deciding about shadow placement, do you ever use a light source to help? You know what I have found is that shadows and light highlights are the hardest things for people to get. So what I say is it's always 12, it's always noon, the light is coming straight down. It's the easiest way. If it's a dome, the highlight is at the top. If it's a contour, the highlight is in the front, in the center. And that's just how I teach it, because it is so confusing to think about if the light is coming from the side and where the shadows would be. It's very confusing, and it's really hard to get that. And with these projects, it's so much easier just to keep these little rules in mind. And then as you get your confidence and start doing more and more, you will become more aware of where the light is coming from in the shadows in that case. So you will start to notice those things, and you will get a little more confident changing that. But to start, I always say it's 12 o'clock and the sun is directly overhead. What's the name of the Tim Holtz stuff you used? What that is called, you know what, I will post that. Somebody that used it. Somebody put that on. Somebody post that. What is it? Here it is. Got it. It is called Distress Micro Glaze. This is it. And I got this from a friend of mine, so I would assume it's probably on Amazon. We don't carry this, but I'm sure you could find the source for this. Probably your store that's close by has it. You put it on with your thumb. It kind of looks like wax. And you put it on with your finger, just rub it over the top, and then take a paper towel and dry it off. So you get a good coat on there, and it will protect your watercolor so that any water will beat up on it. Okay, thank you, Tony. You're so amazing, teacher. Thank you so much. This is so fun to do. I love seeing your work, and I love seeing what you guys can do. I love seeing all these budding artists, you guys. It is so neat to do that, and Kendra would say the same thing. It's our favorite part, is seeing what you're doing with these products and how you're kind of making it your own. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you watching. And like I said, keep posting. If you would like to have this, this sample, we'll do a quick drawing in the next day or so and pick a winner. So I will see you a week from Wednesday for another Watercolor Live.